Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. No colons in that entire name.
Damn.
Just insane. You have never played Assassin's Creed for Black Flag. You have never played any of these classic Assassin's Creeds. Most of them have been RPGs. So I'm curious to know how you enjoyed this. What is widely considered one of the best in the series. Now just looking good, spick and span.
Well, yeah, let me give some context and say, as you've already pointed out, which is baffling, my first Assassin's Creed was Valhalla. Now, for those of you keeping count,
Crazy.
Valhalla is nowhere near the beginning of the Assassin's Creed franchise. It comes after so many before, like the original trilogy.
Like the 8th or 9th
and
one.
And there's like Rogue and Black Flag. And then there's Origins and
Unity.
Odyssey and Unity. Like there's a ton. And then Valhalla was the one who's like, right, let's play this. And I played Valhalla and I was like, there's an open world RPG. It's fun, but I just don't get the Assassin's Creed love. Like a game is just way too long.
It's also like the worst one in the series, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, just super long. Just I enjoy. I don't want to say I didn't enjoy it, but it's just way too long. Played Mirage was a lot better because I think that kind of blended, more of the RPG, modern RPG with some of the more classic feel, but it's shorter game, but still, it's okay. Shadows was cool, like I enjoyed it, but again, it's the modern RPG Assassin's Creed, and it just, like I couldn't understand, like why fans like yourself, for example, were sort of a bit just like, it's not the original Assassin's Creed. It's this modern RPG. There's all these numbers you got to not grind levels, but you got to level up and have gear and whatever. So come to Black Flag, which is now probably, I'd say, one of the most beloved games in the franchise. Like even I know people talk about Black Flag with, such love and reverence of, oh, what a game, whatever. And having played it now, I've rolled credits. It took me, I was saying to you before we started recording, I didn't speedrun the game. I did some side stuff, but I just kind of stuck to the main quest so I could see the story to the end. It's like 22, 23 hours. It's not a short game. It's still a lot of playtime, but there's a ton to do here if you do want to, stretch your sails. This game is not an Assassin's Creed. Okay, this is a pirate game wearing an Assassin's Creed skin.
100%. Yeah.
As far as pirate games go, it is a very, very good pirate game, and I understand why people love this game so much because I had an absolute blast playing it. If you dream of sailing the high seas and just causing havoc, popping to different islands and just looting, hunting for treasure, doing all manner of that sort of thing, this is the simulator. And it's funny because I think you mentioned it as well. Like Ubisoft followed this with Skull and Bones, which is just Skull and Bones. Like no one talks about that game. Like this seems to be the benchmark. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. As far as the remake goes, it's kind of mind blowing that this game came out on PS3. If I think of, so if you don't know, in terms of remake, the game has been remade in the modern day Assassin's Creed engine, which is Anvil, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's Anvil. So it's visually like gorgeous. If you're watching the footage, it's like amazing. The seas are good. The islands are lush and beautiful. Parkour's been updated to the more modern feel. And in terms of campaign, it still follows the same story. And there's I think, post-game content, and there's been a couple of refinements and things that have happened. But the actual just fundamental mechanics of this game, of how you sail, how it's structured, that was how it was in the PS3. And holy hell, this game was I'd say way ahead of its time. It's an open world game. I can't even fathom this being on a PS3, which is a very powerful console, don't get me wrong. But it's just such a disconnect in my head of how did this exist on a PS3 when it's just these huge open seas with these islands and this big story, whatever. It's just very good. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it is kind of, you're right. Like this was it was a late, I think it was one of those like late PS3. It came out on PS4.
Yeah, towards the end of the PS3
console
cycle. You're right.
Yeah. but just the ambition of this game, like you said, the scale of it, being able to sail between islands and have big naval battles at sea. It was just, compared to Assassin's Creed 3, which had these naval sections, but they were completely separate from you, like on land when you were playing as Connor. It was almost like this is a cinematic event where you get on a boat, you do a thing, and then you dock again, and then you don't get on a boat for a very long time. And they were just kind of like, what if we made that seamless, which is a nuts thing to do in like a year between sequels, because these things were coming out almost annually at that point. It is such a cool game, which, if you've only played it for the first time now, you would think it would just fit with the modern framework of an open world game, because it is kind of still
100%,
within that vein. It's good. I've only played a couple of hours. I played Black Flag when it came out. I still consider it maybe like my second favorite in the series, but that's just because I enjoy Ezio's stuff. It's probably the best feeling of the classic Assassin's Creed games, and I think this remake does a good job of replicating that, while, like you said, smoothing some of the edges to make it feel a bit more modern, running in that engine, making parkour feel a bit different and a bit more forgiving, and changing the combat slightly, but I still feel like it does lean into that old style where you're waiting for parries, and then once you hit a parry, it's just like an immediate kill, which I know people got super, super over by the end of that era of Assassin's Creed, and that's why I think the RPG stuff felt very different. But I've always liked it. I think it's a real power fantasy trip, which just makes you feel like this, assassin who cannot really be stopped by normal soldiers. And again, like, Edward Conway is not an assassin. Like, he kind of just lucks himself into picking up this garb, and he's just looking for treasure, and he's kind of an asshole, and he's just the most anti-hero sort of rugged protagonist that doesn't fit in with all the others that have come before him. He has no moral code. He kind of doesn't really care for the journey he's on, and it's refreshing because he's not just this goody two-shoes coming from Connor and Ezio. So it really was a different take on the story, and some, like you said, some people don't consider it an Assassin's Creed, and that's fine. It's just a really fun open world game, and it's cool that we can play it in the modern age in this sort of way.
Look, it's not like a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination. There are some things I don't like about it, but one of them being I appreciate the anti-hero story, but I found maybe just a relic of that generation of gaming, where, I mean, this is a mild spoiler. In the first hour, Edward is just a pirate. He's doing his thing, and then he stumbles across an assassin who's actually out to betray the Brotherhood, whatever, and hand over information to the Templars. But then Edward ends up with these Templars, and they're like, "Oh, yes, you're an assassin. Show us your assassin things, whatever." And that serves as kind of a tutorial for the game. But narratively, it makes no sense. Like, Edward's this pirate, like, "Oh, yeah, show us your assassin techniques." And this dude's already archer leaping off buildings into hay. He knows how to use it. They literally hand him the blades, like, "Oh, yeah, show." So he knows how to use him. He leaps off buildings, he assassinates, whatever. And I'm like, just narratively, it's just weird. Like, you just have to close your eyes and pretend it didn't happen. Maybe it is a relic of that time of storytelling in gaming. I don't know.
It's also such a janky little section. It's just you sit against a wall and you assassinate a dude around a corner, and they're like, "Masterful, man."
But it's just so funny. I'm like, this dude's never been an assassin. It's more just the fact that there's one part they're like, "Oh yes, like, show us how you assassinate off a rooftop," and he does it perfectly. I'm like, this dude's a pirate.
It's also just the most unimpressive shit to be like, "Show us your skills."
But it's just this weird suspension of disbelief. Where, I know it's a game. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's just weird how this dude is just kind of born knowing how to parkour. Like, he's doing. You can do this from
100%.
minute one. And I don't know. I just kind of feel that from a narrative point of view, it's just a bit of a weird. Surely there needs to be some kind of explanation as to why this dude's such a good assassin. Like, I don't know.
I do think, again, this comes down to you not having played the series, but this, I feel like at the time, was a massive overcorrection You know, Assassin's Creed 3 was notoriously bad with doling this stuff out.
I think they handhold too much.
Like I despise Assassin's Creed 3 because it feels like you have to play that game for 6 to 8 hours before you kind of let loose on the world. And, you know, a lot of it is so tutorial, like, oh, you're going through the prologue to the game, and then Connor's like this untrained assassin. You even play as him as a kid, where you're like playing hide and seek, and that's meant to teach you stuff. It's so drawn out. And I think they were just like, fuck that. We're putting you straight into the action. You know, again, maybe at the expense of the narrative, like you said, but I think they were just like over the criticism of it taking way too long. Because the Ezio games were the same thing. They were very story heavy in the beginning to kind of teach Ezio his things. And here they're like, who cares? He's an assassin from the get-go. Let's just get you into the cool stuff.
It's me nitpicking. The game's really good, but there are just random things like that where it just makes me roll my eyes a bit. What is going on here?
Like, I just thought it was really funny the way they were just glazing him up for doing absolute nonsense. It's just so fun. They're like, yes. We can see you have assassin training.
Yeah, like this dude.
One of the skills is you sprinting up and just stabbing a dude. It's like, what? Anyone could do that.
Masterful. That's why Edward could do it, because anyone could do it. They're like, oh, wow, this ancient technique. That said, last thing I'll say about the story, I think one of the biggest changes they made in this remake is that there's, like I know in the original Assassin's Creed, there's this whole there's a whole secondary story, or I don't know how you want to frame it. There's like a primary story and a secondary story. And the primary story or secondary story is typically what you're playing through. And then there's a modern day thing happening saying like, modern day, there's Assassins versus Templars and da-da-da. That whole part of that game from the original has just been removed. I think the original had this whole separate thing where you playing modern day, was it first person? Through
you were playing as like a game tester working at Abstergo, and they were developing games that
modern day
were basically
Templars.
Exactly. And you were kind of like testing this game that was about this rogue assassin you know, during this period, and that kind of then starts going into like someone hacks your computer and they're trying to tell you that, you know, these are Templars and they're bad people. But it was, again, this was straight after the whole Desmond Miles story concluded in Assassin's Creed 3, so they were just trying something new for the modern day section. So I don't personally think some people seem very mad that they took that out. I don't particularly recall caring much for it. And if you are super into the lore for this game, you know, you can read up people's thoughts on it and how the modern section flashbacks in this game actually act as a sequel to Assassin's Creed Shadows more than anything else, which is an interesting thing. I think Jordan Ramey on GameSpot, his review kind of dives into that because he's a Assassin's Creed lore sicko. So if you're into that, I think that kind of ties it in, but I genuinely don't feel you're missing out on much. But with that stuff removed.
It's weird because like I can't tell you I'm missing it. I think if you wanted, that story's there's a whole lot of things you can go hunt out, and there's a lot of lore dumps you can find out in the world, like codex entries, whatever. But I also found, the last thing I'll say about the story is that it's a bit, even the whole Templar versus Assassin thing in this specific story feels a bit kind of glazed over, because Edward's like, I've stumbled onto the secret war between these two, but it kind of feels like, what are the stakes really? They're after this big device thing, the observatory, and he's just a dude there who wants it for money. And it just feels, I don't know, it just feels maybe in this remake, because there's no modern day stakes to like show, you know, this is what's happening. Maybe it's just a bit over my head, and I only know about it because I went and I read up after the fact, like, this is what actually happened in the original. And this remake is kind of erasing that part of the game and kind of, like you said, course correcting or putting it more with the modern series of games, which is kind of charting a new path in that storyline. So I don't know. All you need to know though is if you want a good pirate game in an Assassin's Creed skin, this is a game to play. It's a lot of fun.
It's kind of interesting because there are very few, if any, games like this. You know, even at the time, it wasn't like, the industry went through a pirate period. Like, you know, so many games go through these weird convergences all at the same time. This is kind of an outlier, and there is nothing like it, in my opinion.
I mean, so there are pirate games, but it's
not like this.
Not like this, no.
like where it is just an open world game and you are living a very cool, very power fancy like pirate simulation. In the same way that you don't get many like cowboy games aside from Red Dead Redemption 2, you know, of that ilk. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Wish the world had more cowboy
games. This could not be further from that sort of game in terms of realism and simulation, which I highly appreciate. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a really good. I'm keen to play a bunch more.
Yeah, I think even if you've not really had much to do with Assassin's Creed, I mean, I've played, like I said, the modern ones. This is easily my favorites. The others I played through and I enjoyed them. Like I said, I enjoyed them, but this is the one I was like, holy shit, like I'm really enjoying this game. I can't wait to finish work to go play more. You know, even if it's just sailing the seas and fighting other ships to get resources to upgrade my ship, or popping to an island I'm sailing past to find treasure. It was just fun to play through. And visually, like, what a treat. This game is just like gorgeous.
Yeah. It makes me excited for the next Assassin's Creed, which is called, I don't think they've given it a name, but it's like codename Hexy or something like that. And it's meant to be, they're apparently flip-flopping between, 1 year
Remakes.
or it's like RPG and then non-RPG, similar to like Mirage and then Shadows.
Kind of like Resident Evil as well, what Capcom are doing there.
Yes. So this one's apparently meant to be more of the classic style, but it's also introducing like more supernatural elements to it. I'm keen to see what it is. It sounds really interesting and cool because I don't super vibe with the RPG ones. I think Shadows Origins I kind of love, even though those RPG elements are quite light. I just think the setting and the story is really good. But like Odyssey and Valhalla didn't grab me. Shadows was cool for a bit, and then I kind of fell off of that as well. So,
look, if you are the fan who enjoys the RPG version of Assassin's Creed and you want the numbers, like, this game might not hit for you. But for someone like me, just going into this game and being able to fight anyone I see without worrying about not the right level, just this power fancy of I can walk into an enemy camp and if there's 20 enemies, I'm still gonna maybe struggle, but it's not a raw number thing. It's like, no, I can get out of this. I can fight all these dudes. I can just
I guess you can understand now why it was such a big like turn off for some people to not have the ability to like stealth assassinate people because of a number. And that
it makes no sense
always
to
rubbed me the wrong way.
Even narratively, it's this. I'll give the same criticism to games like The Division, and I know, like, I'm completely nitpicking. The Division's like using guns, but if you shoot a dude in the head, it's going to do more damage, but it's not going to kill them. I'm like, but The Division's meant to be like not a real life simulator, but in my head, I'm like, it just doesn't make sense. It's a headshot.
Yeah,
like, it's just a
games like Destiny
thing.
get away with it just because it's not real.
Yeah.
But when you like giving, you're in a world where it's like very militaristic and realism is at the core of its look, then you're right. It just feels odd.
I'll give you the perfect comparison. Here in this game, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, it's like, oh, there's the captain of this army. You can sneak up to them and kill them. If they don't see you, you can one-hit kill them, no problem. In Shadows, it was the thing of, if you want to assassinate that elite person, you got to go find it on your skill tree and work towards that perk of you can insta kill. And it's like come on.
And even that was a correction to a degree because Origins and Odyssey never allowed that. It was like, you're too low level to assassinate this dude. Like, fucking good luck, I again, that's why when Origins came out and it was like, nope, insta assassinations are no longer a thing. It's like, oof, I don't know about this direction at all anymore. So I'm glad you get to experience that. And I'm also curious now if you can see why Ghost of Tsushima was such a big thing, because it was a return to this sort of formula that people had been...
No levels, really.
Yeah, it had been 5 years since Assassin's Creed had kind of like done this stuff. And it was like, yep, this feels like the Assassin's Creed of old. And, the series went in a direction that a lot of people didn't like. And I think primarily that's why Tsushima was such a big success. It also happened to be a setting that everyone had been clamoring for in Assassin's Creed, and they just hadn't done it as well. So it was like this perfect convergence of two things.
Yeah.
It's a good time. I think you owe it to yourself to play some of the ones that came after Black Flag. Like Unity is really, really good.
Yeah, you've got me interested in Unity. Even if I don't finish it, I'll sort of try it. It's like, well, what
it's cool now that they cleaned up the performance issues and they issued a patch recently to unlock the frame rate on current consoles. Nice. So now it's like 60 frames per second on the current consoles. And then after that, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which takes place in London, is I think it's super underrated. It's really, really good.
Nice.
Yeah, those two are the last two before the like RPG era, and I think they, Black Flag is up there, but those two are not far behind, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, we'll end this segment there. Boom. Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Go play it.